Hello, welcome to Mother, Baby and Us, episode 5, how we can all support women in business. Mother, Baby and Us. So today's episode, we have our very first guest and I'm so excited. We are joined by the wonderful Hannah Phillips. So Hannah, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I can. I mean, that's a big ask, but I'll try and cut it down. So I am Hannah Phillips, more affectionately known as Hannah the Runner. I would like to call myself the queen of social running. I don't think the world agrees with that, but I do a lot of social running. But I'm also the CEO of a company called a community interest company. I feel like that's important. Yeah. Called Wonderful Women. I'm a mother of 3, one very much wanted and 2 big shocks. What else do I do? It's quite hard to introduce yourself. It's quite hard. I'm a public speaker, writer, CEO of Wonderful Women and runner, I would say. I think that sums it all up.
I think you've got yourself covered.
I think so. I wear a lot of hats.
In between.
Yeah, I wear a lot of hats.
You do it well.
And Wonderful Women is how we met, isn't it?
It is indeed. It is indeed. When I was canvassing Mountain Ash, I think this is a nice story. I had seen the shop front and I was like, I'm going to contact those. But you came to the first event in Mountain Ash, so I was really grateful for that.
We loved it.
Yeah. It's a very wholesome, lovely experience, I'd like to think.
Yeah.
We are paving the way for women in the valleys at the moment, or women. We've got quite a demographic growing now, wherever I suppose women need championing.
Yeah.
So
it's fab. We left feeling exactly how you said, like you want to bottle up the energy in the room. We felt going, oh my God, that they were real people. They were. It was just really nice. I told everybody about it. I was like, Ma'am, you'll never guess about these stories. And like literally everybody, I was like, oh, and I went to this Wonderful Women event and you need to come.
Yeah. I wish we could bottle it. We would be doing this in Barbados if we could bottle it, because I think I could sell it for a lot of money. But I'm really proud of them. They, I always start the event with, I want you to leave here feeling like you can do anything. Anything is possible. And the first one we did in Merthyr, my little girl came. She's nearly 9. And as we left, we walked home that night and she was like, Mum, we can do anything, can't we? And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. So it's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what would you say is the best thing to happen to you since you've become a woman in business?
I think it's a tough one because we're not actually making any money at the moment. I would say, I think the confidence that it's brought, I took a leap of faith and left a lovely job with Welsh Athletics to pursue this. And I think if I hadn't been sort of in this arena with these women, I would never have had the confidence to have made the leap.
No.
I'm really passionate about what it's providing for people and the changes that's coming about with it. So I would say the confidence is the biggest thing that, I've had the guts to say, right, this is what we're doing and this is what's happening. And the outcomes at the moment might not be much of a financial gain, but what we're gaining in areas that you can't read, like data can't capture the stuff that's happening with a lot of the women that come to the events. So I'll give you a little example. I think it was event 3 or 4. In the break, a lady came up to me crying. And she was like, I've got a job interview tomorrow. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. What are you crying for? And she was like, I'm not going. And I was like, why? And she was like, because I've just listened to these women and I know the passion in me is to make my business work. And I'm not going to this job interview because that's not what I want.
No.
And she was like happy crying. But I didn't know that at the time. And I was just like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. That's exactly what I want for you. Like, I mean, I don't want to put you under any stress, like financial. She's like, I know I need to start bringing money in, but I've just listened to these women tell these stories, and that's what I'm going to do. And I followed up with her. I've kept in touch with her, and that's what she's doing. She is ploughing all her energy into her business. And she was saying the day after that event, she had a proper row with her job coach because she'd been going back and forth saying, look, I'm struggling. I've got this business. And apparently the job coach was like, your business isn't viable. And she was like, but I need to make it viable. And they've put her in touch with Business Wales and stuff like that now. So she's making it viable. And I think Like, we can't capture that on a piece of paper.
It's amazing.
You know, and I think that's probably one of the best things. It was like the right time as well. It was like, right, you're doing the right thing here, Han. This is making ripples. And we all know with ripples comes big waves one day. So hopefully I'll be able to pay my mortgage in a couple of weeks.
It's one of those things, isn't it? When we were starting this business, and it wasn't quite like, so many people told me, like, that's not going to work. Like, in university, we had to write a business plan for, well, it could be for anything, but I did it for this business.
Yeah.
And my tutor was like, that's not going to work. Like, he scored me so low on it. And I was like, that is going to work. And I entered the same exact business plan into the Young Entrepreneur Awards, and I got to the finals, and I got to go into this big gala and everything. I was like, it only took that one person to believe in me.
Yeah.
And my family going, no, you can do what you want.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to do it, you'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
And that little bit of confidence, like, look what it's turned into.
That's what I mean. Limiting beliefs is a massive thing at the moment. And I think, like, that tutor could have changed your life.
Yeah.
You could have done the complete opposite. And that's frightening.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want I've got 3 little girls. I don't ever want them to be in a room with someone where they think there's someone against them and that they can't do something. So I've been working on messaging. You know, I'm trying to put a business head on. Like, I'm the most flaky woman when it comes to sort of like, I go, oh my God, I got this really good idea, and Scott's like, here we go again. So I'm really putting a lot of energy and like professional energy into this, and I've been working on messaging, and I read something yesterday like about your messaging and what would it be in like less than 8 words, and I was like, well, I know I want to transform women's lives with confidence, and I was like, that's all it took. Yeah. Boom, I've got it. That's what I want to do. And then that's what Wonderful Women is doing, is transforming women's lives with that element of confidence. So, yeah, it's a big, scary thing, but very exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, so from that then, what would you say has been your biggest obstacle so far?
I would say there's 2. Obviously, the limiting beliefs, which we've just covered quite massively. I think mindset is a massive thing. And if you get that wobble, you've got those obstacles are there straight away. The biggest problem I've got, in all honesty, is childcare.
Oh, it's massive though, isn't it? Massive
issues. My wage wasn't bringing in enough to warrant full-time childcare for my middle one. My eldest is in primary school. My middle one has literally this term just gone into mornings, but then she goes to Maternity in the afternoon. So she's out the way from 9 till 3. So I've still got the baby, but we cannot warrant, even with my full-time wage and Scott's full-time wage, we couldn't warrant childcare full-time. So I am doing everything around them, with them. There's always a baby on a hip or a kid's nose being wiped at the same time. I just think our world is not set up for women to work and be mothers, and, you know, it needs radical change. I know there's a lady called Mother Packer. Do you follow her on Instagram? She's doing loads and loads around, you know, the change there, but we're still a long way off. I shared a quote yesterday where it's like there's a generation of women drowning because we're still taking on the stereotypical roles at home and working a full-time job, and it's like, it's hard.
It's so hard.
It's so hard.
I struggled massively when we first came into this building, didn't I?
We both did, didn't we? Because we were both having to put him in childcare. Like, I had to do less childcare than you, but like, it was so, like, the childcare was costing us way more than we were earning. Yeah. Like, way more. But there was no way we could build our business without having that childcare.
Yeah.
It was so difficult. And then the mum guilt that comes with it as well. Like, you put him in that childcare, and all the time you're in work, you're thinking, oh, I should be spending this time with my kids. And then in the house, you're thinking, oh, I should be spending this time on my business. Yeah. And like, how do you juggle that? Yeah. Like, your mind is never on the right thing at the right time.
It's just a minefield, and it's I hope by the time mine are grown up that there's a bit more leverage with it, because, and you are right, like, I'm trying to do things in between them now. Yeah. And then I get to the evening and I'm like, right, I need to do more, because I've only like touched the tip of the iceberg on what I need to do. And it's like, you should be playing with them now. You know, they've done school. This should be your time, and I just cannot get that balance right at the moment. And I think it's going to take a long time. Yeah. They'd probably be in blinking university by the time I'm like, oh, that's what you should have done. But yeah, it's just so unfair. The financial side of it, you know, the all of it is just not set up for us.
No.
You know, we're already fighting battles before we've even got out of bed. And yeah, I would say that's the biggest obstacle. I think as well, like, time management is massive. So with Wonderful Women, there's me and I've got 2 business partners. So I'm CEO and then they're on the board. And I like to make sure that we're all making the decisions together, that I'm quite flighty. And I'm like, I've got this brilliant idea. Let's buy an alpaca. We definitely need an alpaca. People will come to the event.
I was going to say that sounds like somebody I know.
Like we're on the same wavelength completely.
So I really need, but you know, trying, because they are busy working women. Caroline's got a really high-flying job in corporate. Laura works for suicide prevention in Powys, and she looks after a lot of Wales. And then I've got 3 children and a house to look after and whatnot. So by the time we can, and Caroline blinking, she's like an iron woman as well. So like we've got to fit it around her job, her training. Laura's just had a brand new grandchild as well. So it's like, you know, getting us all around the table is really difficult because everyone is so busy. You know, we're told we can have it all, and we can have it all, definitely. But we're going to be blinking tired doing it. It's like, oh. So yeah, it's time, childcare, limiting beliefs. You know, there's a lot of obstacles in our way, but we can smash them down. And that's what I'm learning quite quickly, that my mother always says, there's no problems, only solutions. And I'm always like, shut up. But she's right.
We always find the time we need to do the things that we want to do. So there is always time. Like, you are knackered doing it, but if you want it enough, you'll get it.
We did a podcast episode, didn't we, on how like motherhood changed us, like in
our business.
And like people automatically assume that children are a negative thing towards your business. But how much more can you get done with your time now that you've got kids? You know how precious that little bit of time is.
Oh my goodness.
The stuff that we do in between school runs, we wouldn't have done in a full day. We normally get in about 8:30, don't we?
Yeah.
And if we weren't leaving until like 5:30, we still wouldn't have done the things that we do by the time we're leaving here to get ready for the school run.
We learn to juggle very quickly when there's a small human around, and we very quickly. So and I think I learned a thing this week, funny enough, about time blocking, and I think that might be the way forward, where you sort of like block off your time. So you go, right, I'm going to do my social media now. I'm going to do 11 till 11:30, and then that's the end of it. What I don't do then, we'll have to wait until tomorrow. And I think that's quite a good I think if you can get into good habits like that, you probably be a lot better. I'm flaky, I'm flighty. So it's like I'm grabbing time and grabbing, you know, Cheerios.
We learned quite quickly that if we haven't got a to-do list in the morning, nothing gets done.
Yeah.
So the first thing we do is come in, make a list, and then we stick to that list, and we tick it off as we go, and we're like, oh, look, we've done it all.
Yeah.
Fancy that. We could do it all in a day.
You don't learn about. These are the things you don't get taught.
And it seems like common sense, doesn't it? Like, make a list and get it done. But like, until we started making a list every day and made that a habit, because it is a habit now, isn't it? Because we've done it for so long. It's like, right, okay, what are we doing today? And we will just go, right, well, what are you doing? Right, well, if you're doing that, I'll do that. And we've got both computers side by side, and we just get it on with it.
Yeah.
And the best days are the days where Christy's in a different room doing her to-do tasks, and I'm in a different room. I've got my earphones in, listening to a podcast,
and we ignoring me.
Fly through. Like 12:30, like, oh, we're done. Let's go and have brunch.
I can see her opening a little AirPod case, and I'm thinking,
that's going to be a quiet day today.
She's going to ignore me for the rest of today. I know what's coming.
I can't sit in a room in silence. So if she's working and she's not talking, like I'm not, like like my head is going like a million miles an hour. So I just stick my earphones in. But then she's like, Abigail. I'm like, you weren't talking 5 minutes ago. Like, why have you got to talk now? For goodness sake.
Yeah, we can get distracted quite easily, can't we?
Yeah.
That's the only problem. And this is the thing with our meeting. So there's 3 women around the table who've just got some time to themselves. And we're like, you never guess what.
Adult conversation.
Yeah. So it takes us about 45 minutes to get into anything work-related. And then it's like, we've got to go.
So despite the best things that have happened and the worst things that have happened during your career so far, what is your like main goal for Wonderful Women? What is your, not so much your end goal, but your big hopes and dreams for it?
I think obviously we are growing quite fast, as in numbers of women who are getting involved both online and in person.
How lush is that though?
Pardon?
How lush is that?
I know, I keep pinching myself, especially like the Merthyr event is quite established now because we've been going a lot longer, and we're seeing returning women, which is really nice. Because it's all well and good having women through the door once, and then, but you are, like I was thinking when you said earlier about when you left, and you were like, it's hard to keep that momentum going through the month. So but we seem to be getting there now. I've got massive hopes for it, in the sense that I hope it's always a platform and a space that women can use for good. And I mean good as in not good full stop, as in for good, for good things to happen. I want my girls to know that this is the most natural thing in the world. This programme is the most natural thing in the world, and that they can be involved in something where other women have got their backs. So the next step is a membership programme. I'm keeping the plans quite fluid, really, because I think you don't know where something like this is going to go.
No.
Like we did a menopause workshop a couple of weeks ago, and financially we lost out on that. But what we gained in traction, publicity-wise, and members in the Facebook group and the emailing list was massive, you know? And off the back of that, a lot of ladies have asked for more work in that area. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to provide spaces in that area. You know, like we've got menopause, then we've got women's health, we've got mental health. You know, I want all these pockets of areas where women can feel heard and validated and seen, because I think we've forgotten about up here a lot. And this is the big thing for me, because I was obviously going to networking events in Cardiff and leaving like you did, thinking, oh my God, this is amazing, this is brilliant. Why haven't I got this where I am? Because, you know, I'm surrounded by phenomenal women. I'm surrounded by phenomenal people. But I specifically want to carve out a space for women because A, I am one, and B, I've got 3 that I need to show. This is what's going on, kids, you know? So
isn't it surprising, sorry to interrupt, isn't it surprising how many amazing women there are within the valleys, as in so creative and like high up in, you wouldn't expect like CEOs and things like that to be in the valleys. You'd expect them all to be living in Cardiff, but they don't. They stay in their little communities and they thrive in, but they're not spoken about.
No, and then this was the big thing for me, that like we've had women come that have probably got no Instagram and speak, but their stories and what they're doing in the world is amazing, and it needs to be celebrated. And I'm not saying celebrated in the fact that they need a pat on the back, because I totally get that, they do, definitely. But I want the women to hear that this is what's happening. Like, I grew up in Abigail and I wanted to be a writer. I didn't meet a writer till I went to university, you know? There was no one I could look at and go, oh, that person writes, you know? There was always like, oh, there might be a writer somewhere, you know? But, and you've got to see it to believe it. And that's what I want. I just want... We watched a YouTube video today, to digress a bit, with a couple. They're in West Wales and they've gone off-grid, and they've literally bought this land, and they're living in a touring caravan while they do the land up to live off-grid. And I said to Blossom, who's nearly 9, I was like, I'm going to get her to come and speak an event. She was like, she's in Wales. I was like, yeah, she's like 45 minutes down the road, kid. You know, these people, we've got phenomenal people around us. Don't think that you've got to watch American YouTubers to, you know, to be inspired, because there's a lot on your doorstep. And I just want people to, you know, like, they've done that. They've gone off-grid. They've done it. They're actual human beings. The only difference between me and them is that they have bought land and done it. You know, same as with, we had, what did we have last time? A lady called Helen Frost, who was a celebrant, spiritual celebrant, and she does the funerals and things like that. And she gave this massive, massive talk on like how we don't talk about death and things like that. And I was like, I left crying. Everyone was like, oh, hold it together. But these are the things we need to be privy to, you know? And these are the things I want to be privy to. I want these stories shared. So we've got big goals, but I'm mindful that it needs to be fluid as well, you know, so that if something comes up and we go, oh, actually that worked really well, marvellous.
Yeah.
Marvellous. So.
Sounds amazing.
It's every day I get up and there's another email and it takes me in a little bit of a different direction, but it always comes back to the core.
Yeah.
It always comes back to, this is a safe space for women to speak, to feel heard, you know, to be empowered, motivated, inspired, and then those are the big things. And I think even if I get one lady one day going, oh, actually something's clicked for me, or I'm going to do X, Y, Z, then I think we've done a good job. So.
And I don't think we would be in the position that we are without listening to all like the more so within like the photography community, but like listening to like the likes of Karen Bagley and the talks that we listen to, they're all online, and we haven't done anything kind of in person because we haven't had anything that has been local enough. Obviously, we're in a small niche, and what we listen to is very specific. But to have something on our doorstep that is a lot of what we do in it is the fact that we are women
at the core of our business. It's celebrating women.
Yeah, we're women in a very male-dominated area, and like it's just we just wouldn't be where we are without the inspiration that we've had off other people, and the amount of times that we have like at night when the kids have gone to bed sat and listened to like a webinar, and then we come into work the next day and we're like, oh my God, like, wasn't that really good? Like, why didn't we think of that?
For, like, right, what can we do better? What can we achieve?
And
it, probably the same for you. When you're listening to all these women speaking at your events, it's probably bringing you all these little bits of, like, what's the word? Inspiration. Sorry, I get my brain fog. Little bits of inspiration of where my business can be going and how I can help other women. And
this is the thing. So we're also looking into like a mentoring scheme because I'm really passionate about people seeing, like women seeing, especially girls seeing other women. But even, you know, like the lady who came up to me that night and didn't go to a job interview, she's 60, you know, like there's plenty of time.
Yeah.
But she knows now that there's a room full of women over in Merthyr or Mountain Ash that will have her back.
Yeah.
And between us, we can help her sort her business out. So we're looking at this mentoring sort of scheme that I'm really excited about. And I think if we can nail that, it'll be very special, you know. So like I could have a girl turn up that wants to go into photography and I can send it to you guys, or I could have a girl that comes and says I really want a business, I could send it to you. Do you know what I mean? We've got so much to offer that we don't think that we have, you know. Everybody's got these massive resources and information, and you haven't got to pay through the nose for it, you know. You've got women around you that will help. And
and with even if we haven't got the resources to help them ourselves, we probably know somebody who does, or somebody, like, it's all kind of, I can't help you with that, but I know somebody who does. And it's always passing on through all those people.
There's a pool of women and a network of women growing this community now, and I just think it can do so much good, for want of repeating a word again, that it's exciting, you know.
And how amazing is it to know that if you've got an issue, like within your business, and you think, oh my God, I don't know what to do here.
Well, not even your business.
Well, no, yeah, in general life, like whatever. Like if you've got an issue and you think, I don't know what to do, look at how many women are involved in this. And like, somebody's going to have the answer.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to have the answer.
Yeah.
There's no reason why all of us shouldn't be super successful, because if we all shared the knowledge that we have with each other and the things that we know work as and make us a success, if we all did that, why are we not all? Yeah, we should all be in a position.
This is the thing as well, like, because we get a bad rep, don't we? And I think I've talked about it with Kelly from Fierce Femmes last night, funny enough, about, you know, women being hard on each other, and women sort of, and I think jealousy is a big aspect that we don't talk about because nobody wants to talk about it. And I think, like, I'm, from my own point of view, self-development wise, I've started thinking, if something makes me a little bit jealous, what do I need to work on? So if I'm seeing someone do something that I want to do, and I'm like, oh God, how is she doing that? Instead of being, how is she doing that? I'm starting to go, oh my goodness, she is doing that. I'm feeling something. What can I do? Yeah. You know? And I think it's about building each other up. It's about going, oh my goodness, she's doing that. How amazing. What can I do in that space as well? You know, I don't want to be better than her. I don't want to overtake her. What can I offer? Yeah. You know, because we're different people.
You're all on your own path.
It's the whole Brick Lane thing with the curry houses, isn't it? Yeah. There's like 30 odd curry houses in Brick Lane, and they all do really well, you know, because they all sell curry, but in different ways, you know. And it's all about, you know, there's going to be people that like my way of doing it. There's going to be people like another way of doing it, and let's celebrate us all, you know. And it's
just finding your tribe, innit?
This is literally generations of work we have to undo here, you know.
The generations of, that's another woman, so she's your competition.
Yeah,
she's not.
Exactly.
Like, build each other up, like, and I think we've had a really good experience within our business, or well, just in general, that we haven't come across that an awful lot. Like, there is cattiness and there is bitchiness that we've seen directed at other people, and kind of, but that's not something we've really experienced a lot of within our business. Well, perhaps they are, like, being mean about it behind our back.
behind our back.
But
Yeah,
like, I've never experienced anything like negative
No, and I
in
think
that sense.
and I think I'm waiting for it, and
Yeah.
you know, we're in our infancy, and I'm waiting for like it's hard for me because obviously I've taken Kelly's idea and brought it to Merthyr. I think they're very different things. It's the same concept.
Do you want to
but-
explain that just a
Oh
little bit?
yeah, sorry. Look at me. So Fierce Femmes was the event I was going to in Cardiff.
Yeah.
And they're absolutely fantastic. But I was getting annoyed that I had to go to Cardiff for these things.
Yeah.
So I've brought it here. So it's the same concept. Kelly gets 3 women to get up and talk. I get 3 women to get up and talk. And it's pretty much, you know, on paper,
the
the
bones
same
of it.
thing, but very, very different.
Yeah.
And me and Kelly are really friendly, and I made sure I did a whole blog and an open letter to Kelly when I started Wonderful Women, saying that my first response was to ask Kelly to come to Merthyr and put Fierce Femmes on in Merthyr, and my second was I need to be the change, because if my kids came to me and went, I want to do something, and I'd be like, well, I want something, what are you going to do about it? You know, they need to know that they have to be the change. So I wrote this really nice open letter to Kelly, and basically saying, I think she's phenomenal, which I do. I think she's fantastic, which she is. I'm going to do what you do in my way up here. And we've seen it already. There's a couple of women doing the same type of thing. And, you know, before this, my gut reaction would have been, why are they copying me?
Yeah.
Now, my reaction is, thank goodness, it's spreading, it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, because there's room for all of us. And the more women round tables talking, being open, supporting each other, that can only be a good thing. And, you know, and I honestly, like I said before, it would have got to me. Now, it genuinely doesn't. I'm like, we're doing something right.
Yeah.
So...
And it's kind of been drilled into us, hasn't it, that like that people are your competition. Like, we had somebody message us, didn't we, and said, oh my God, you edit newborn baby skin so beautifully. Can you tell me how you do it? And we were like, absolutely. But if that had been other photographers...
Should have charged her though, shouldn't I?
If it had been other photographers in the industry, they would have been, no, I'm not telling you how I do that. That's...
Why gatekeep it though?
Yeah.
She's going to find out eventually. So
yeah, and if you know, like, it's the curry house. Like, I might like the one with the orange front shop, you know, but Scott might want to go to the blue one, and that's absolutely fine. You know, if we all did the same thing and offered the same things.
Yeah, so I literally told her how to do it. Well, how I do it, for her to go, right, okay, well, I'm going to try that, and I'll take what I need, and I'll do the rest, like, I'll put my own little spin on it. Great. You've got your own style. There we are.
Yeah.
Just give another, like, the building blocks.
Again, it's the lifting each other up. And, you know, I like to think that, I think as long as you're really friendly with it, and you're not, you know, like, I would never try and make Wonderful Women better than Fierce Femmes. It's too different. And I think as long as we're doing that, where we're not like, right, I'm going to overtake this, I'm going to be so much better, then it's fine. So, because if I get work that I can't do, I can send it to Kelly, and vice versa, because there's going to be places where Kelly fits better than I do, and things like that. And it's about collaboration, and it's about, again, building each other up and holding each other's hands and fixing the crowns, or not even the crowns in Merthyr, you know, like, let's do each other's plaits. So I'm really, it's been a good self-development thing for me. I hope I pass that on to my children. I hope when they start, you know, when jealousy comes into things, that they can start going, oh, actually, what am I missing here? Why am I feeling like this? Because, you know, it's a tough one, and I feel uncomfortable talking about it, weirdly, but I think it needs to be talked about as well.
If it's making you uncomfortable, it needs to be spoken about, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I'm quite pleased we brought it up.
So with your big kind of goals for the future and everything, is expanding, like, towards a greater area kind of on the cards, or is it just going to be hyper local to the valleys? And
I would like, in my little head, I would like a Wonderful Women opportunity, whatever that looks like. It might not be an event, but an opportunity in every local authority. But then in the local authorities so like Cardiff is a local authority, but in the areas that are not necessarily celebrated in Cardiff, I think it's really important that we don't make everything as shiny as cities do. Because, and I said it earlier, like, we get forgotten about through no one's fault. Well, there is lots of fault, but we won't get into. We won't do the.
Let's not get political.
Let's not do the politics today. And I want these in the little nuggets, the little pockets, little corners of Wales that don't get celebrated. Like our first event, a lady turned up. She is in her 80s. She was the first lady in her estate in Merthyr to go to university. No one knows this. But my little girl is going to look at her and go, oh my goodness, she was the first woman to go to university in Merthyr, you know? These are important, and they don't get seen and they don't get heard. Unless you can put a hashtag on it or make it Instagram friendly, we don't see it. And I'm just so passionate about these areas being uplifted. We've got deprivation scarred on our landscape around here, and we're more than that. All of us are more than that. The area is more than that.
It's the first thing people think of when they think of the valleys and they think of these areas. It is just that we are a deprived area, and you don't think of the successes that come from the valleys.
No.
When I used to work in Cardiff many moons ago, I used to get asked all the time, have you got the internet? And like, it was genuine serious. That was only like 14 years ago. Not even that, was it? Like, people used to genuinely ask me if I got the internet and running water. I'm like, I don't live in a cave.
But it is mad, because there are areas in Wales that like haven't got broadband and things, you know? So like, I can, you know, it's not the way people should ask questions, but there are these areas. And I think, what are they hiding? Like, what, you know, what phenomenal women have they got there? Let's go and find them and hear what they've got to say.
Yeah, the stories would be amazing.
Yeah, and I'm just really, you know, like, I don't know what it was like for you. Like, I'm approaching 40 quite rapidly, and in school, like, the goal was always to get out of Abigail. You know, you've got to leave. If you want to make anything of yourself, you've got to get out to the valleys. And I feel really, really passionate about staying home. Like, I left the valleys and I cried for 3 years because I hated it so much, you know?
I lasted
and I
9
think,
months.
imagine if I had stayed and put that energy here, like, what would I be now, instead of doing what I thought was right, you know?
One of our main goals when we built this studio was we wanted it to not look out of place if it was in Cardiff or it was in London.
Yeah.
One of the main streets in London. But we want it in Mountain Ash. We want to stay
deserve
here.
it.
Yeah, we deserve. I was literally about to say that. We deserve it.
Yeah.
We deserve.
And why shouldn't it be of that calibre just because we're in the valleys? Why shouldn't it be?
Exactly. And that's why all my girls, like, I want them to travel. Absolutely, I want them to see the world. But I think that's different from leaving home as well. I do want them to leave home, mind. I am counting down the days that I haven't got acrylic paint under my nails and I'm standing on Cheerios. But I want them to look around, definitely. And if they find home somewhere else, that's absolutely fine. But I don't want them to feel like they've got to leave for better opportunities, because I don't think that's the case. We are lucky in a sense now that the internet has made the world a lot smaller, and our transport stuff is getting better, but then Merthyr's literally just stopped all his trains and we've got bus.
So is the kind of
yeah, we've got bus replacements. So I don't know where that's going, but the world has got smaller, and you know, like, I grew up in Aberville where there was no train station. When I came to Merthyr, I thought it was a city. I was like, this is amazing. You've got a bowlplex. Like, I was, what on earth is this? You know, we had to walk anywhere. Like, So
it's really good that the school system is kind of getting on board with women can do anything as well. Because when I was in school, I really, really wanted to do mechanics. As stupid as that sounds, I've got a camper van and like it broke down all the time. And I wanted to know how to be able to fix it without going, Dad, like it's broke again.
Yeah.
And my head of sixth form went, no, you're not allowed to take it. And I said, but I want to take it. She said, no, you'll be with all the boys. You won't want that. I went, I don't care who I'm in a class with.
Yeah.
I'm taking IT. I'm in a room full of boys anyway on my own.
Yeah.
Let me take mechanics. And she would not let me take that mechanics class.
Yeah.
So I wasn't allowed to take it.
Do you know what? I really wanted to be a plumber. I really wanted to be a plumber because I'd like read that there was like really good money in plumbing for a start, and I really wanted a van. So I get why my mother was like, "You're going into this for the wrong reasons because you know you can get a van, whatever." But I really wanted to be a plumber because I just thought, oh my God, imagine a woman plumber. You're going to get loads of business and things. And my mum taught me out of it for the very same reasons. And I think, I don't think I'd be a very good plumber, to be honest. But at least, you know, I want my girls to have that opportunity. If they're serious and they don't just want a van, if they want to do that, crack on, you know?
In it for the van.
Yeah, in it for the van and the tool belt. I just have these visions of like, and I wanted to be in a class full of boys as well. I was one of those. I was like, yeah, totally.
I was just a nerd.
But it's the world is opening up. I think as long as there's people like us to make sure we don't get forgotten, I think we'll be fine. I think it'll be fine. I hope it'll be fine. So.
I was also going to bring up a little bit off topic. As much as I love that girls can kind of look up and see like women can do anything, I love that we are mothers to boys and we teach them exactly the same thing. And when they come to me and go, oh, that's for girls, I'm like, no, that's literally this morning, my child is starting swimming lessons next week. And I said, right, which goggles do you want to buy us? And he was like, oh, I want them rainbow ones. And I was like, oh, here we go. Great, okay. They're pink sparkly on the front and they've got rainbow on the back, but he loves a rainbow. I was like, you have what you want, kid.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, are they for girls? I said, no, rainbows for everyone. He went, oh, yeah, I'll have them ones, ma'am. So, and it's, they teaching him as well, no, you don't speak to women like that.
Yeah.
They're exactly the same.
And this is the thing. Like, I think a lot of people think that Wonderful Women is women turn up and scream about men all for like 3 hours, and we don't. There has not been one event where anybody has been sort of derogatory about a man. No. Not once. Men don't come up. So, you know, like, however much they like, oh my God, they're men bashing, we literally don't speak about men. No. It's just, one of those things. Anyway, and I make it clear, like, men are more than welcome to these events. If they're about empowering women, I'd love them to come and hear these stories. Yeah. And that's what I think, like, even though, like, I'm really passionate because I've got girls, there's going to be women in the room like yourselves who've got boys, and now it's just going to spread, how women need to be treated differently, and, are we still fighting for things that we shouldn't have to fight for? So hopefully it's full circle, even though it is very female heavy. What happened is when I set Wonderful Women up, we had a couple of, a little bit of backlash on my social media, and someone said, well, I hope you're going to do something for the men of Merthyr Tydfil. And I was like, well,
do they need it?
The men are more than capable of doing themselves, and we did speak about, maybe it being wonderful people at one point. And then we were like, no, they've had it all right for a long time. Clubs. Yeah, exactly. Let's keep it for the girls. And I think it would lose its value as wonderful people, to be honest. Yeah. And again, I've had massive opportunities from men that, have changed my life. Yeah. I've had lots of good experiences with men. That's not what it's about, but we need that space as well. So... And that's what I mean. It ripples out. If you've got boys, if you've got a husband, and this is what I always say, if you've got a wife, a sister, a daughter, a cousin, a friend who's a female, you're in the arena, help out. So.
And I feel like a lot of women will take comfort in it being a room full of women, because, like, how many events do we go to, like photography events, and it's just men. And do you know what happens? We get ignored. We went to a photography event, and our videographer came with us, right? Because
it was newborn and maternity, though. That's what annoyed me the most about that situation. It was the fact that it was geared towards a niche, which is like 95% women, like...
Yeah, it is female dominated than particular niche, the niche that we are in. But our videographer happens to be a man. He came with us for no other reason than literally just to film us, wasn't it? Because he was vlogging our day for us. Yeah. And we were talking to a vendor who happened to be an older gentleman, and he refused to speak to me and Abigail. He would talk through us at our videographer. Our videographer is like 6 foot something. He ducks to get into doors and everything. He's a big guy. And he was going, oh, don't talk to me. It's about these girls. These girls are like leading the way, blah, blah, blah. And he was like being so like over the top with him. We were like, oh, calm down a minute. Yeah. But he was like purposely being over the top to be like, you need to speak to these girls. These are the people you need to speak to. And he refused point blank to speak to us. And then he'd be like, all right, so you work for this guy. And we were like, no, he's working for us. And he'd be like, all right. So I'm like, right. He couldn't get it in his head that it was our business. We were the ones paying him to be there to film us. Like he just refused to speak to us, wasn't it? And if it's not an event that is catered to our niche in particular, then it's just full of men, and they just want to talk about how big their lens is. Do you know what I mean?
Of course they do.
Literally, that they just want to talk numbers and statistics and like that's not what.
I mean, we need the space.
We do.
We need a safe space to be able to speak to each
That
other.
just reminds me, though, I listened to Lisa Johnson is a strategist, an online strategist, and I've been listening to lots of her podcasts this week because she's a powerhouse of a woman, and she makes an awful lot of money in the online world. And they had gone into a shop and she had spent an awful lot of money. She'd gone, right, we're having that. And when they like tallied it up at the till, the guy goes to her husband, so what do you do then, son? And she said, I wanted to just take everything back, you know. And he was like, oh, you better ask my wife, it's her business. And, you know, like we still automatically, well, we don't
2023,
still, but
that's happening.
Yeah, it's naughty, very naughty.
Okay, so this is the part where we usually get a question from the comments, but seeing as we have our very first guest...
I'm still really excited about that, by the way.
I know. We've decided to throw it over to Hannah. So if you don't mind, could you ask us a question, please?
I've got a question for you. So we've done a lot of talking about your business off air, so to speak. And I'd be really interested to know, would you do anything differently? So if you go back to the start to now, would you do anything differently?
I don't think I would.
No.
I always say, like, I don't have regrets. Like if I changed anything, I wouldn't be here at this particular moment at this time. So I always like to say that I don't have any regrets. Having said that, like, I spent a lot of time not charging it very much. So I'd probably be a lot better off if I had...
I think if we did it on a quicker time scale then, so not take 10 years to get to where we are, like knowing what we do now, I think, knowing our worth is a major, major one for us, isn't it? Like, it's taken us a long time to realise we're worth what we charge, but only now we're charging what we're meant to be charging. And I think doing that sooner would have got us
a bit further.
It would
faster.
have. Yeah.
Yeah. But I still wouldn't have changed it. Because we wouldn't have met the people we would have met. Oh, you know how I like a sob story? I'm too nice, I am. Do you know why we were talking about people pleasing last night in that empowerment hour? Like, that's me. I'm a people pleaser. I will give anything for free.
The amount of times I have sat there with my eye twitching, I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't wait for this customer to leave because I'm actually going to murder her. Because she will just go, they'll tell her a sob story. She'll go, oh, all right,
last one wasn't even business related. Like, we spoke about it last week on a podcast. When we got stuck in Paris, no flight got cancelled. There was a young couple there that couldn't get a hotel because all the hotels had run out. They were on their own. They didn't know how to get home or how to get a hotel and everything. The girl was sobbing. The boy was shaking like a leaf because he didn't know what to do and he couldn't help her. I said, Christy, we're going to have to give him our hotel room. And she was like, no. I was like, let him just sleep in our room. And she was like...
She burst into tears because I told her we weren't having random people in our room.
I was home alone and tired at the time. We'd had our flight cancelled. It was very late at night and it was all going on. But...
I was going... pull yourself together.
I was like...
They could be anyone. They could be murderers.
Like, just give them the floor. Like, it won't hurt. It was awful. But I am a people pleaser.
She is very much a people pleaser. And I have to rein her in. But I mean, that's from me a foreigner.
So no, in answer to your question, off topic, off tangent, I don't think I would have done anything different. Christy would have done loads, apparently.
I would have reined her in a lot sooner. But apart from that, I don't think so. Because we had to make the mistakes that we made
to know
to know what not to do and to get us to this
I think that's really important as well. It doesn't get talked about. Like, the mistakes are important, don't they? Because you don't learn otherwise.
It's how you get back up after your mistakes. Yeah. Like, we are frequently told no or don't do that or whatever. And it's how you come back from that like, gets you to where you are. We're very resilient people.
Well, you've got to be from the valleys.
Yeah. I think that's what being from the valleys teaches you, though, isn't it? Yeah. Like, you don't get anything handed to you on a plate. No. You have got to work so hard.
And you always start off on a back foot. We're always
being a woman and from the valleys. We're constantly on the back foot. So, yeah, I don't think I would have done anything different.
Okay, so we've come to the end of this episode, and before we round it up, I think it'd be nice for Hannah to share her details for you guys to know where you can get in contact with her.
So you can find me over at Hannah the Runner on Facebook, Instagram, and I think I'm still on Twitter somewhere. And then all the Wonderful Women stuff is at Wonderful Women. But you have to be careful because one of the Wonderful Women is Wonderful Women, but in a far more glorious manner with bikinis and things.
Oh, Oh, no.
Just be mindful of that. But yeah, we're wonderful women.
Okay, and I think we're going to link it all below as well.
Yeah,
isn't
we'll
it?
chuck
So-
links in.
Yeah, so you don't click on the wrong one and end
No.
up with bikini pics.
Because it's very awkward when that happens.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe so that you're notified every time we upload a new episode. And we'll see you soon. Bye. Mother, Baby and Us.